Whether you're updating your library of compact discs or building in accessibility to the library of outdated magazines at your local doctor's office, the 6-Dot Braille Label Maker has got you covered. Everything you need to create high-quality Braille labels in any language is right here. The 6-Dot Braille Label Maker is powerful but simple. The 6-Dot ergonomic design makes it easy for children and adults of all ages to label practically anything at home or on the go, especially love letters on your significant other's locker at school. Throw this innovative 6-Dot Braille Label Maker in your bag and start labeling what matters most in your world today. For more information on the 6-Dot Braille Label Maker, visit logantech.com. After 25 years of the Americans with Disabilities Act, is it still 70% unemployment amongst the blind? Allow me to introduce you to Blink. We're here to make history and change the world by raising the bar and shaping statistics.
Hey everybody, I am back with my favorite part of the show, and I'm using the AKG C214 just in case you are keeping track. And it's a mic that Mike, the guy who's coming out with the audio show, and the reason behind all these microphones, well, one of them, of course, Drew and Byron and all those great folks are consulting me on different audio perspectives. But my favorite part of this show, again recorded on an AKG condenser mic 214, is the thunder moment. And this is where we get to ask the realists some questions, and they come back with amazing responses and incredible insights. And the first question is, who was your mentor growing up? What was the advice that they gave? And how are you using that advice today? And my mentor was my father growing up, Ulysses D. Boone. And he gave me advice like, too soon you'll get old, too late you'll get smart. He gave me advice like, you work now and you can play later. You can play now and work later. And he also told me that it didn't matter what anyone in this world, including your mother, thought about you. It's what you think about yourself. And that question, who is your mentor? What was the advice they gave, and how are you using that advice today, is important, because the person who speaks into your life when you're younger helps to shape who you become when you're older. So let's listen to their responses.
Amanda Berkeley.
I didn't have a mentor until I got to college. And oddly enough, it was not even a disability person. It was a very old man who was my literature professor. I'm not sure of who your listeners, how old the age range, the demographic is.
7 to 92.
He looks like an Oak Ridge boy. So he's got the long hair, the long beard, and he's a very dirty old man. Whenever I would come to his class with my dog, he'd say, "There's my favorite woman and my favorite bitch." And the woman is not on two legs. So he told me, he said, look, Amanda, I don't know what your life's like. I don't know your whole story, nor do I want to, because nobody has that kind of time. He's like, but you have tenacity. You have the ability to not give up. You try to make a difference wherever you go. You do the education. And I think that give you the potential to be a good teacher. And I said, I never thought of it that way. I just thought when I went blind, Texas gives me free education, so I'm just going to go to college. Now you've given me something to strive towards. And so that's kind of where my mentor started. And ever since I took his first class, I would call him and say, Dr. Hiles, I'm taking XYZ class. They want me to write about this. How do I do that better? How do I word this? How do I make this sound a little more professional, a little more like a college student, less like a 5-year-old? And he was like, yeah, so here's what you can do, and we'd email back and forth. I'd send my papers and stuff to him, and he'd correct them with his proverbial red pen. And, he kind of guided me.
Anaya Minor.
My mentor was my aunt, and she taught me that I have the power to empower. I have the power to do whatever I please in life, no matter what other people says. And I am using it because I moved to the US and everybody is kind of open-mouthed. What's she doing marrying an American, moving to the US? Hello? You're blind, you don't know New York, it's a big city, San Sebastian, small city, what are you doing? Where I'm pursuing my dreams, as she said.
Ashley Coleman.
My mom was my best mentor. She told me that I could do whatever I needed to be independent, and she supported that by letting me do most anything I wanted to do.
Christopher O'Mealy.
My mentor was a guy named Alonzo. When I first met him, I think I was in kindergarten. He was a couple years older than me, and I would follow him around like a lost puppy, man. He was the first blind person I had ever met in my life. Just watching him move around independently and doing things and interacting with people, because I was a really quiet kid. I kept to myself, and he had a lot of friends around school. And so I tried, I guess, getting myself into his circle and tried to pick up what he was doing. And the last thing he told me before we really split ways and went along with whatever was, if I want to do something, all I have to do is 3 things. 1, learn about it. Again, this goes back to knowledge is power. 2, try for it. You know, you try for anything you're passionate about, and you can get to it, you know. And 3, make sure you have a support system in what you're doing. You know, it's one of those things. It's like where I am now, I've accomplished a bit, and I never would have accomplished those things had I not had a good support system, had I not had people to fall back on when I needed help or when I was in trouble or something. And everyone needs a good support system. So that doesn't just apply to me, you know. Those are just things that I can apply to everything in life that I do.
Curtis Jackson.
My mentor was my TVI, and she basically told me, hey, you know, I know there's a lot of you can't, but you can, and so you need to start applying that and start doing it, because eventually you're going to be on your own. You're not just somebody that's going to be living in a group home and can't do stuff for themselves. So you need to get ready, and that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm trying to push forward and remember what she said.
Daniel Aronoff.
I suppose my mentor was my mom growing up. She's the one that really taught me how to advocate for myself, to stand up and to navigate the system, whether it's finding books in Braille or accessible media or just the best way to do things. And it wasn't just what she taught to me or said to me, but it was by her actions. I mean, I have a master's degree now. I have my own website. I mean, these things take time to really cultivate. You have to learn the ins and outs of the system, whether it's financial aid or getting all your books on a CD or download format. So I think she's just taught me a lot about, you know, the world of the blind is different. We go through things that are very dissimilar from our sighted counterparts. And she taught me all these different techniques of how we can go about doing this every day. And that's what I really want to pass on, because I feel like if we all got together and shared what we know, it would be incredible. It would be a whole new world. And I want to teach that to my kids when I have kids. I want to teach that to other peers in the field, and I thank her for showing me the ropes of life.
Daniel Hawkins.
I think it will be my grandma. I mean, I had a lot of people who are very supportive, but for some reason, my grandma has always been the one that I fall back to, and she's always been there for me. I knew the advice today, how she treated me, and what she taught me today is how I treat other people today. And my grandma had a very sweet personality, always there for people, always ready to help. I just think that's a great idea. No matter what people treat you, I think you always should be there for that person and be ready to help them no matter what.
Don C.
My mentor was my grandfather. He was also blind. I have a wide group of blind family members. But the greatest advice he gave me was to, quote unquote, get a grip. Don't think the world's going to stop because you can't see. Don't think that you deserve anything that anyone else has. You know, you have to work for everything you get, and just because you can't see doesn't mean that you're going to get additional handouts. Don't give up, basically. And of course, I use that every day of my life. I can't afford to do nothing. I don't expect anyone to give me a handout or expect them to treat me any differently just because I cannot see.
Derek Cleveland.
My mentor was my granddad. He showed me the working hard really does pay off. And that was one of his little things to get told all his grandkids, work hard would pay off no matter what you do. If you work hard at anything, it will pay off in the end. So I carry that forward with everything I do, no matter what I do, even with raising my kids. It's a job doing that. But yeah, that was the person that influenced me the most from my granddad.
Don Shaw.
I was fortunate, especially growing up with a visual problem. I was really lucky. A group of us have talked about this many times. Growing up, I was lucky. I'd say my parents were a mentor. As far as they pretty much let me do what I wanted to do, like growing up. You know, I would do pretty much what my other neighbor children did. Everything from riding a bike along slowly to just doing whatever they did. And my parents, would say, just be careful, try not to get hurt. But I took bruises and things just like every other kid. And growing up now, I really realize a lot of my successes through life have been because they didn't treat me any different as a visually impaired person, that they just let me do pretty much whatever I wanted like a normal kid. And I kind of learned through that I guess I could do things that I wanted to do.
Donna Johnson.
My mentor growing up was a wonderful, unique, and very special lady. Her name was Linda Smoke. And Linda Smoke opened the world of math to me because I had not had the opportunity to do math in high school. So when I got to university, I wanted to do a Bachelor of Commerce degree, and in order to do that, I needed high school math. And Linda worked with me for a year, brought me up to snuff. I passed all of my high school math courses with honors, and I went on to do my commerce degree. And her philosophy to me was follow your dreams. And this is what I've done all my life. I've followed my dreams. I've had several mentors along the way, but Linda has been very special to me, and my dad and my mom as well. They have said to me, follow your dreams. Don't be afraid. Go out there and take the world by the tail, because there's something for you to give back, and I've always wanted to give back.
Eva Bagara.
Well, my mentor probably would be my mom. She just said that can't wasn't an option, and she never treated me different or spoiled me just because I was blind. If I would fall, she'd be like, you better get up, because if you don't get up, you're a loser. You got to get up. And so, she just always inspired change and being positive. And that was the most important thing, was just being out there. And she taught me to be an advocate for myself.
Leo Desnet.
My mother was my greatest mentor. I learned more about advocacy through her by watching her connect with people and be positive, offer, if a problem came up, she'd come back with a solution. And that's been my approach.
Paul Ferrara.
Before I knew what a mentor was, my grandfather was that for me. Well, he knew that I was going to have to rely on education. Now, he ran a printing shop, and he knew that wasn't going to be what I would end up doing most likely. It wasn't feasible for me to do that. So he pushed me, even at a young age, to really dive into education, but not just to do it, but to excel at it. You are better than average, don't be average. And so that's one of the things that I do now. Whatever I'm doing, it's not good enough for it to be good enough. It's got to be better. You talk about excellence a lot, and that really fits in. Don't just do something, make the effort to do it well. But, even more than that is his advice. You need to be honest, you need to be authentic, you need to be who you really are, even if everybody doesn't always agree with you or like everything you do. Develop trust with people and loyalty. Be trustworthy, and people are going to trust you. You be loyal to other people, and most of the time you'll get that kind of thing back. And those are traits that have stuck with me. People these days especially, you hear people talking about what the world's like, and people want to know that you are who you say you are, that what you say about yourself is the truth, that you're going to do what you say, and you're going to say what you mean. And if you do those things, people will respect you, and you'll make your mark on the world by doing those things. Maybe more than just any one particular thing that you do. And that's going to make you an effective leader and teacher and mentor and coach.
Roxanna Cleveland.
My mentor would be my coach, and she was my track and swim coach. Her favorite phrase would be practice, practice, practice. And then she would always say, practice makes for perfect succession. If ever I had a goal that I wanted to achieve, and sometimes, your plans don't go as what you want them to go. So what I would do was try again until I succeeded into what I wanted.
Ryan Kwok.
My first true mentor, and he might not even recognize this, but he was the catalyst for my starting to explore all this. His name is Bill Jurek. I interned with him back in 2007 at Chris Radio, which is our Chicago radio information service. I did a show for him called Access Chicago. It was a 15-minute public affairs broadcast. And I interviewed anyone from Doug Porter, CEO of Ronald McDonald House Charities, to Chef Rick Bayless, to various different people that had seen in the news and this wasn't getting coverage on radio or TV news at all. And I thought, well, hey, it's an internship project. Some people might not hear it, but then again, a lot of people might. This is streaming all over the world, and the radio reception might not be the greatest, but hey, it's an experience, and it's something that I can take with me. And what he said was, put yourself out there. Because at that time, I was about to go into college, and my transportation skills weren't quite as good as they are now. And he told me, he says, you need to put yourself out there. There was a man that he knew that it was a snowstorm. He was supposed to go in for a job interview. The guy was totally blind, and he got on the buses and trains and all that stuff. And he got to the office. The interview was at 9:30. He got there at 9:35. He was nervous. He was like, man, I apologize, sir, for coming in late. Mm-hmm. And tells him, he goes, wait a minute. You got through a snowstorm of mammoth proportions, 10, 12 inches of snow, for a 9:30 interview appointment, and you got here at 9:35?
Wow.
What are you selling because I'm buying? And that was that whole thing, that whole episode is sticking with me to this day.
Shelley Smith.
Mentors. I had a teacher in the 5th grade. He was actually my first public school teacher. And he always told me pretty much the same thing my grandmother told me. You're no different than anybody else. Grab life and hang on to it. Just do what you can. And that's the way I try to live.
Thanks for joining us for Blink. Visit FedoraOutlier.com/Blink to weigh in with your votes and participate in crowdfunding. We'll see you right here next week. Blink, where employment becomes reality.